New tonight, we're tracking some chilling comments from Russian President Vladimir Putin. Reports claiming that Putin compared the war in Ukraine to the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, saying that they were proof that, quote, you don't need to attack the major cities in order to win. This allegedly said during a conversation with French President Emmanuel Macron. And we're welcoming in John Jordan now, former Naval Intelligence Officer, current member of the Hoover Institution Board of Overseers. It's good to see you again, John. Thanks for being here.
Good to be back.
So, John, what do you take away from what the Russian president had to say? Does he pose a nuclear threat to Ukraine?
Well, obviously, yes. Anytime a nuclear armed state is in a state of armed conflict with another, and even more so when they're losing as badly as the Russians are, there's a risk. This hasn't happened. This set of circumstances hasn't happened since 1945. That said, this is part of a continuing campaign by the Russians, and Putin in particular, to divide the West, to raise the costs and risks in the eyes of the Western public, to eventually generate political conditions where aid to Ukraine is shut off. That's what Russia's real end game here. And that's why the war on energy with regard to Europe, the war on food with regard to Ukraine shipments, to force the world to walk away from Ukraine. And this is just part of that campaign.
And we also want to get your insight into the tense situation in North Korea right now. The North recently conducting dozens of short-range missile tests, moving some to speculate whether this could be preparation to resume nuclear testing for the first time since 2017. Would you put any stock into those concerns?
Oh, absolutely. The world, for the Biden administration, is finding out the hard way. The world is, in fact, a connected place. When you withdrew from Afghanistan in the manner in which we did it, in the middle of the night, turned our backs on our friends and even some of our NATO allies there, the world takes notice. And the bad guys in particular took notice in this case. What with Putin feeling he had a free hand in Ukraine, that the U.S. would not be involved, and now with Kim Jong-un being ever more aggressive, especially now since he has a new arrangement with the Russians where he's shipping artillery shells to the Russians, and has Russia and now China to a degree has his back at the UN with regard to sanctions, sanctions relief and the UN actions. So what we have here is Kim Jong-un wanting to raise the stakes with the West. He's getting a little more frisky with the idea, again, to try to apply political pressure on the West and in Asia in particular to get some sort of deal and for sanctions relief, which is his real goal here, as the North Korean economy is in dire straits.
All right. And meanwhile, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin went on the record this week saying that the U.S. would, quote, end the Kim Jong-un regime if they use nuclear weapons in any capacity. Any indication on if North Korea is taking a threat like that seriously?
Well, periodically they need to be reminded. Every year we have these joint exercises with the South Koreans, and they are always a sore spot for the North Koreans for a variety of reasons, some hard to understand and some impossible to understand. And the rhetoric around these exercises always seems to ratchet up. Since 2021, there has been a quantum leap in the number of North Korean missile tests, both short range and long range, and the aggressiveness with which North Koreans are doing it, meaning close to South Korean and Japanese territorial waters. So this is part of, again, a chance to raise the pressure in the hope of get Western attention in such a way as to perhaps get some sort of sanctions relief.
And John, in the seconds we have left, General Austin said that America is ready to fight. What do you think he means by those comments? And would the U.S. ever send actual troops to North Korea?
Well, see, this is General Austin having to walk back the mismessaging that the Biden administration sent when we walked out of Afghanistan. So the North Koreans have to be reminded that, and our allies have to be reminded that we are there, we're not going away, and that should Kim Jong-un do the unthinkable and use a nuclear weapon, even a small one, that the U.S. will take it seriously, and we will not tolerate the existence of a regime, especially in North Korea, that uses a nuclear weapon. And he has to be we have to remind the North Koreans of that periodically.
John Jordan, appreciate your insights as always. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
My pleasure.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.